Nice amp, I like that.
Okay, today we're going to talk about the two Frehley's Comet albums, one being from 1987 and Second Sighting being from 1988. Frehley's Comet was formed by ex-Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley. Ace had had quite a few problems with his previous band, Kiss. Depending on opinion, left the band. Ace had certain addictions, was just sick of the band's direction during 1981's The Elder. Ace had left Kiss early on in 1982. He ended up with the Creatures of the Night cover, even though he didn't play on it. So Ace was out of the band and had quite a lot of demo material. A lot of it's easy to find out there, some really great stuff. But he wasn't allowed to release anything until 1985 because under some sort of contractual thing, he was going to lose his share within the band Kiss. So Ace had put a band together for himself with Richie Scarlett on vocals, John Regan on bass, Anton Fig on drums. Now Anton Fig had previously played on Ace Frehley's 1978 solo album, which was a very successful album. Anton had also played the drums, or most of the drums, on 1979's Dynasty album and 1980's Unmasked, despite showing Peter Criss on the albums as being the drummer. Anton Fig, very well known as being the drummer for the David Letterman Show. Anton has worked with just about everybody from Madonna to Gary Moore, Joe Satriani, Joe Cocker, Mick Jagger, Miles Davis, James Brown, Bruce Springsteen. We can go on and on and on, and we're not talking about one specific sort of genre, he's been in everything. So that's pretty cool. And he always seemed to be the go-to guy that Ace would get. John Regan, again another class act. He's worked with people from Peter Frampton, David Lee Roth, Billy Idol. John Regan is currently part of the band 4x with Tod Howarth. Tod Howarth comes into the picture a little bit later on. Richie Scarlett, who was on guitar and vocals and comes back into Ace's discography later on, was replaced by Tod Howarth shortly before the recording of Frehley's Comet. Richie came back later on in 1989's Trouble Walkin' by Ace Frehley, long after the Frehley's Comet band had kind of disbanded. Now these albums were brought out by Megaforce Records. Megaforce Records by Eddie Trunk. So Frehley's Comet was recorded between 1984 and 1987. It was released in 1987 and goes for about 41 minutes. It can be considered a hard rock to classic sort of rock album. It's got a very 80s vibe about it, very 1987. Keyboards are very prominent, but not to the point that they're excessive. So some of the songs on Frehley's Comet, one being Into the Night, which is quite a catchy tune, had a bit of success, I think it made it onto the charts somewhere down there. It was written by Russ Ballard and even had a video clip which was quite cool. I remember hearing the demo version of this song as well, which wasn't too bad, but this one's a lot more polished. Russ Ballard has had many songs covered by many different artists, so I won't go into it because the list will just stack up. Breakout is another standout song from this album, co-written by Eric Carr. I believe Ace wanted Eric to play drums on this track, but Gene and Paul wouldn't let him, which is a bit of a shame. I believe the demo to this song was done during 1981's The Elder, and it just kind of got shelved. It was later remixed by Kiss for their 1992 Revenge album and was listed as Car Jam. Ace's parts were taken out and Bruce Kulick put his own guitar parts into it, and it became a completely different song. It wasn't Breakout anymore, it was called Car Jam, and it was a tribute to Eric after he passed away. Breakout, on the other hand, it's a great song on its own anyway. Now it's just a shame that Eric never got a chance to play on it, but Ace was in good company with the guys he had in his band, so it still turns out to be a killer song.
Hands down, the guy's iconic player. You know, when we redid Breakout and I played it, and John and I did everything, and Kevin Valentine did the drums on a record called World Without Heroes, I think it is, for the hospice, the Canadian hospice. Yeah. That was a lot of fun, but I had to, I was trying to duplicate Ace's leads, and that's fucking hard to do, because he plays such a different way than I do, but he's a fantastic player in the style he does.
The song Calling to You is quite interesting because it was originally a song by 707. 707 being Tod Howarth's old band, and featured Kevin Chalfant on vocals. Kevin's vocals are very Steve Perry-like in sound, and he even did the main song on the soundtrack to No Retreat, No Surrender. See if you can remember the song. Joe Satriani plays guitar on that too. Didn't know that, did you? So this original song that was by 707 was called Megaforce. And it's interesting to hear these two songs side by side, Calling to You and Megaforce. I don't know which one I like better, probably Calling to You because it's more polished off.
Like about a sci-fi movie. It didn't make the movie, at least I don't think it did. I haven't got paid for it to have. But it had some feeling.
So the first glimpse I got of this band and of this album was the Rock Soldiers video. It's the opening track to the album, and it's showing you that Ace is in fact back. And it's interesting to see him for the first time without any makeup on, and with this whole new band. So the album moves at a steady pace. I don't think there's any real downtime during the album. Sounds great. Like I said earlier, very much product of 1987. Ace's vocals have always been, shall we say, a little bit bland. Tod Howarth's vocals, on the other hand, are very melodic and help to kind of complement Ace's vocals at times. You can hear Todd's background vocals quite a bit and it really boosts the songs up. It makes them sound all that much more polished off. The one strange song on the album, I think, is Dolls. That song just kind of goes nowhere. It's one that I always skip, and it's definitely not something that I play for other people. That's just the one downer on this album. Everything else is just great. The album ends with an instrumental, Fractured 2, which is the sequel to Ace's Fractured, which was on his 1978 solo album. Keep in mind that Billy Ward, not Bill Ward from Sabbath, Billy Ward appears on the music videos for Rock Soldiers and Into the Night. So if you're looking at the guy in the background thinking, that doesn't really look like Anton Fig, it's because it's not. Billy Ward would come in later on into the band to play with the live tour. Because Anton had other commitments, Billy Ward was brought in to play for a lot of the concerts. Be sure to check out this album, it is a great one. It's got a good mix of both Ace Frehley's vocals, Tod Howarth's vocals, great guitar, great keyboards, great bass, great drums. It doesn't linger too much on anything, and it's got a great fast pace to it. So, as usual, you've got this great lineup of individuals in a band. As I already would have it, cracks start to show. And those cracks reared their head in the form of Ace Frehley's various addictions. Alcohol, drugs, and although Ace had gotten himself cleaned up previous to this point and he was back, he started to decline again. And there were many tour stories where Ace was just living the rock and roll lifestyle and leaving his band behind. His band was quite lost at times because he just wasn't there. He just wasn't there physically, sometimes he wasn't there mentally, according to some of these interviews.